The Black Fat Femme Podcast is a production of iHeartRadio and Dr. John Paul, LLC. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Black Fat Femme Podcast, where all the intersections of identity are celebrated. I am one of your hosts, John, also known as Dr. John Paul. And I don't know about y'all, but today I am tickled and filled with glee. Because if you do not know, the Choco Taco is back in production. Last week we mourned the Knots cookies, but this week we are in celebration. We are in celebration. When we pray, our prayers are answered. When I think about Jesus and what he's done for me, when I think about Jesus and how he set me free, I can dance all night. I can't even have a Choco Taco because of my A1Cs, but I'm celebrating that for everybody else who can. How are you, Mama Bear?
Won't he do it? Won't he do it every day? When the news dropped, I immediately thought of my good sis here. I was like, the Choco Taco is back. Oh my God, I don't know where to find it or where to get it at, but I was like, I thought of you, so know that you were on my mind. So I was like, this is, and then John has asked for it. But I will say, what a plot twist, and what a cynical plot twist that it came back and you can't have it. I'm actually mad for you about this. I'm like,
I mean,
so we will make sure that one day you will. Okay.
But do I really want to be on?
No one said you can,
right.
but
Do I really want to be on the Peloton like that? Do I really want to be poking my finger trying to make sure that my numbers are right? No. So I'm just go ahead and not eat it. That's
when the A1C is A1. When the A1C is A1 right, bitch. The first thing I'm gonna do is like, here's your Choco Taco. I got you.
Right.
Fam is Jordan. Hey, Kim is Joe. If you're nasty, and I really cannot believe this. Black History Month. Black History Month is almost over. Thank God we got an extra day because I'm gonna need it. But I also gonna need white Jesus to stop making time move so fast.
Yeah.
Because why do we to this day I'm like, why do we have the shortest month? And this month is longer for us, but like now it's just on par with other months, and we deserve more than this.
Yeah,
like because all month long, someone says something foul to me, or just being like not even like actually bad, but just like remotely like, inconvenient. I'm like, on Black History Month.
Yeah.
To a black person.
Well,
you done that to me,
right? But we are
going in my house. Am I in my black home?
Right.
No.
in my black home.
No.
But I was gonna say we are gonna move right into Women's History Month. So I would say that because of who we are, we could be like, oh, it's Women's History Month, and I'm non-binary, so move.
And Black women make history every day.
Yes.
Okay.
I know.
I see you.
All right. Well, this week we have an amazing guest with us. And I have said in so many different iterations, in different forms, in different spaces and places, that the first girl and the first doll who ever checked me and told me to get my shit together was this guest. And I am forever grateful for it because really just since that day and since our first meeting, I've always known that this person had it. I didn't know what that it was, but I knew that they had it. And I am just so forever grateful for how they've changed my life and how they continue to keep me, how they continue to hold me accountable for all of the work that needs to be done and get done in this world. So with that being said, today in our third seed, we have someone who is not afraid, in my opinion, to tell it like your TI is. And for many reasons, that is one of the many reasons why I love this person. They are the CEO and HBIC of Trans Tech Social Enterprises.
Come on,
you have seen her on several shows, including the Primetime Emmy Award nominated Her Story, Claws, Transparent, Framing Agnes, and more. She is the first transgender woman to secure 2 series regular roles, both on FX series Pose and American Horror Story. And now, you see what I did there? And now, she is the host of her own podcast called No Opportunity Wasted. Please give it up for the amazing Angelica Ross. How are you, baby?
I am just blessed and highly favored. I do want to make one quick correction, though. I used to be the CEO of Trans Tech. I am the founder, so that's never going to change. That is never going to change.
I know that's right.
Okay.
But we do have our new executive director, E.C. Pizarro III, who has now, oh, don't quote me now because it's been so long. I think it's been like 3 years now. It could have been more because it's just time flying. I'm getting old, so my memory ain't what it used to be.
Yeah.
But I just know that I we are still pressing on for our mission, to take up space for trans folks to be able to take up space in not only the tech
Yeah.
industry, but just the job market in general,
In
and
general,
just
yes.
continuing to find more allies amongst corporations, community
Mm,
organizations, celebrities, whatever we can to sort of like expand our mission.
mm,
So we've got our Trans Tech Summit coming up this March.
yeah,
It's been going on since 2020. Our first year was at the Groupon headquarters in Chicago, and that's
Yeah.
where
awesome.
EC, who's our current executive director, that's where he started volunteering with us,
Yeah.
and is now the executive director. So it's been
Mm,
such a
I love
nice
it.
journey to
come
to
on,
build
growth.
something and watch it grow over
Mhm.
10 years. It's about to be our
Mhm.
10-year
Yeah.
anniversary.
That is so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really, really cool,
Thank
and I
you.
mean,
Wow.
I just appreciate I will say, I know that I presented in 2021, and it was one of the most, engaging, and it was also very much, one of the it was just a beautiful day. It was just ultimately, it was very nice to be able to meet so many
Mm,
people who are in the same mind of, like, we have to not you I think Travell says this all the time, "You can't be what you can't see." And so it was
Absolutely.
really nice to be in the space together
mm,
with people who genuinely are doing the work and who are helping to make the space and the opportunities for others to be able to come in and do the work too. So, um
Absolutely. Yes, and so now I'm headed to New York tomorrow,
Oh!
to be
ooh,
celebrated by Time Magazine, and their new closers list is 18
Wow.
Black and brown, folks who have been working to close the wealth gap. Issa Rae is on the
yes,
cover, and there's a
Oh,
beautiful
yes.
new headshot of me, in Time Magazine,
that is amazing.
so
That
Ooh,
is
yeah, so it's
amazing.
ooh,
it's great to finally be kind of celebrated for work in the sense that we are about to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. And the
Mhm.
reality is,
mm,
I mean, this for me, I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've been acknowledged by Time Magazine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what I realize is a lot of times when you're doing the work, like I know I heard Shirley Ralph and Tracy Ross talk about these things about, you don't
mm,
always get the awards in
Right.
the thick of everything that you're
Mhm.
doing. And it's just
Mhm.
sometimes this
yeah,
accumulation of your work and you might not ever get the recognition. And so,
Yeah.
I don't do this for the
mm,
awards and the applause, but it's nice when
Mhm.
you get it.
You know what?
yes.
And it's funny because 2 weeks ago, we was talking about that on the show, so
Mhm.
it's
Mhm,
Mhm.
so timely that you
mhm,
mentioned that, and I would say to those who are listening who have the power to give people their flowers and give people awards, especially marginalized folks who are out here, pretty much carrying so much on their shoulders, give them their flowers. It is nothing to stop and say, "You know what? Let's nominate this person for something," or "Let's give them something for, just to
yeah,
say we see you persisting, we see you getting over in a system that's not built for you." So,
Right.
many
mm,
congratulations. I mean, hearing
Thank
that, right?
you.
I
truly.
truly believe,
Mazel upon mazel.
yes, mazel, mazel. Like,
Mazel upon
Thank
mazel,
seeing
you.
yes.
good people get good things makes me so happy. So,
We are so and we're so excited to celebrate you in this episode and to also get more into all things that you do.
mhm.
But for now, we gonna kick off the show like we always do by giving praise to our girl, Miss Tisha Campbell. And our opening segment is still here. And to show that we are all still here, we want to know from you, just to kick off with a little kiki. What's one or some of your favorite moments in Black history?
Oh my goodness. I mean, for me, I think it was in Living Color.
Mm. Mhm.
As someone who is known to be more of your improv type actor, where give me a script or not, I'm a
Yeah.
carry, and so
Yeah.
and
Yes.
so we're growing up and watching Living Color. It was the Wayans family,
Yeah.
with the Jamaicans and all the jobs,
Mm,
with Bonita Betrayal, but you ain't heard this from me, with Men on
Mhm.
Films. There was so
mm,
much that I learned from watching them and growing up, not only about how to be naturally sort of funny and kind of improv, but I think that it also is such a marker for us always about where we were around queerness and transness and,
Yeah. Yeah.
just
Mm,
being able to still to see the growth is one of my favorite things of seeing how far we've come.
mm,
Mhm.
mm,
Yeah. I think you know what, and so it's funny because they when you talk about people who don't get enough praise, I think, there are so many careers that were made from that show, and I think that there's still so
mm,
many actors and actresses who genuinely, I think, they, like, so for instance, I just watched a clip of I don't know, like for me it will always be kind of one of my favorite Black history moments is the time when Fox had all of the Black shows lined up. So there used to be Martin, and then Living Single would come on, and then you
mm,
had New York
Mhm.
Undercover. And I know for myself,
Mhm.
seeing it was always what I loved specifically at that time was when actors from other shows would randomly guest on other shows. And so, like, I remember seeing David Allen Greer on Martin, right? There were so many
Yes.
episodes when David Allen Greer would
mhm,
come in and
Yes.
play the pastor, right? And I just think about the
Also,
comedy of it
Tommy
all.
Tommy Davidson,
Mhm.
when
Mhm.
Tommy he's a fool, like, he would just be
Yes.
such a but to see them do that, it would be hilarious.
Yeah, it was just such a key, and it was such a moment when so many people and I'd say in general in acting and in the acting world literally just, were always kind of in their head of funny, right? They were in their bag and they were in their
mm,
head around being funny. Absolutely,
mm.
absolutely adore it. Do you have any Black history moments that you wanted to recall, Joho, before we move on?
Oh,
Yeah.
me? Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, we well, wasn't prepared for this one. The ones that we discussed in our episode, but just I think one thing I think a lot about I was listening to Black People Love Paramore on the episode with Kellen Allen. They were talking about
Mm.
or K Kalen, right?
Yeah, it's
Kalen
Yeah,
Allen or
Kaylin.
Ka
Kalen? It's
Kaylin,
Kalen.
Kaylin. Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Kalen Allen, thank you, and put respect on his name. They're talking about the, Chia Girls, but
Oh,
then
yeah.
they're really getting really into Raven Simone, and just about, like, how That's a Raven, like, was just such a was like, there will never be a show like that,
Right.
especially if that was one for youth and, young kids, and that to me, like, that show is, like, a great, piece of Black history, especially because of the time where like a lot of kids shows were really diverse and really Black focused and really really good. Like it was really good TV, but also like just like Raven Simone herself as a actress, like as an actor,
Yes.
like comedic timing, like probably powerful storylines, like a great character. Like there just does no one else like her, and I truly think that she is somebody who does not get the flowers that she deserves.
Yeah.
And I really just I just love her so much. And I've been listening to her new podcast with her wife Raven, and I think Raven and Miranda, and it's just yeah, I think that show itself is like cemented for me in like my own Black history,
Mhm.
especially because like it was based in San Francisco, which is like part of the Bay, which I love and from. So
Right.
it's just such a special moment.
Yeah.
I will never not think of, but also her being such a pivotal person in like my own upbringing and like me feeling seen in that family or being seen in that show is something that will carry with me
Yeah.
forever. So yeah.
And I want to shout out too when you talk about That's So Raven, even thinking about My Brother and Me. I don't know why that show just jumped in my
Yes.
head, but that I grew up
Mm,
on that show too. And so like you want to talk about Black families and comedy and like hit me, like all of that is so like I don't know any actually it's funny because I was in the store and I saw that they have it now on you can buy it on Blu-ray, and I was like, for years I had been looking for it, and I was like, wow, I was like, I didn't even know it was on Blu-ray to buy. But all that to be said, like
mm,
just so many, and you speak about Tisha Campbell, right? And Martin, and just even her being on the show and her comedic time, and
mhm,
like she's
Mhm,
another
mhm.
mhm.
person who I think
Genius.
yes,
Yeah.
just her,
Yeah.
Tashina Arnold, everybody
Yes.
in the game,
Mm,
like from
mhm.
what I like to call the Black heydays of comedy.
Yeah.
Like they set the
Yes,
precipice of what
yes.
comedy is now, and we speak all of their names. But with that being said, we already it's that time we got to pay some bills. But when we get back, we are going to chat more with the amazing Angelica Ross about why certain celebrities can't seem to keep our names out of their mouth. We'll be back in a sec. All right, y'all. So, welcome back. Welcome back. This week, we wanted to chat and kiki with our girl Angelica about a topic that I feel like we've touched on, but we've never really dived into, which we tend to do around here a lot. Specifically thinking about the ways that Black cis men can't seem to keep our names out of their mouths. So, we've skirted around the topic and really thinking about kind of this notion of the whole idea of why straight people seem to constantly always be fixated on LGBTQ topics, but we've never zeroed in on the Black straight. And I put straight in quotations because even that can be.
I was about to say, first off, I was
Goodness.
gonna say, first we gotta start at the place where straight is a social construct.
Right,
That's
right,
first
right,
we gotta
right,
start there.
right. We would have
Okay.
put straight within quotations, and it's funny because, and I know we're probably going to get emails for this, but I don't care. I was laughing because someone had tweeted out last night. I saw a tweet right before I went to bed where someone was basically saying, "So let's start off and talk about why your boyfriend is bisexual, sis. Good morning." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And so there's a whole conversation around that. But what I mean, what we're really here to talk about, right?
Yes, yes.
Is really thinking about how LGBTQ people and LGBTQ issues seem to always be in the heads of certain people, right? So I would be remiss if I didn't mention the years that Boozy has gone after Little Nas X, right? And then you have the multiple shows where it's kind of like Dave Chappelle seems to just randomly mention us, and it's like we like like Nene Leakes. Now
Mhm.
why am I in it? Like literally just
Mhm.
kind of like you didn't even like it's just so random. But right, but I did want to say that I think that some of these tangents are intentional, and that they are pushing something that's much deeper and much more insidious. And so with that being
Mm.
said, I kind of wanted to ask that question to you because I know that you've mentioned this on in several different iterations, right? Why does it seem that straight people always are obsessed with LGBTQ people?
Probably for the same reason white people are obsessed with black
Black
people.
people, say that.
Mm.
I mean, I
Mhm.
could unpack that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No, it's
Talk
real.
about the gang swinging,
Yeah.
yes, ooh.
I mean,
Mhm.
so there's levels to it where there is a liberation and a freedom
Mm.
that they can't seem to claim for themselves.
Mhm.
The world has told
Mm.
them that in order to succeed, and get theirs, they have to play by certain rules. They have to pull
Mhm.
up their pants. They have to have an education. They have to do X, Y, and Z, you know. And so when they see folks like us kind of breaking outside those barriers regardless of what the consequences are,
Mhm. Mhm.
it goes from a space of condemning us and saying, "See, this is why you can't live a great life because you are living that sinful life." And then when we get down to the facts that actually no, it's an oppressive system that is
Mhm.
built against anybody other than straight white folks. And when we start to address that system and remove some of the barriers that have been in the way for queer and trans people to access anything,
Right.
now that we are
Mhm.
able to access things, and now some of us got homes, some of
Mhm.
us got
Mhm.
cars, some of us got jobs, and some of us are still working at it or whatever, just like everybody else.
Mhm.
And I think that is
Mm.
shaking them up a little bit because one, what they've been told is kind of unraveling before their eyes.
Right, right. Mhm.
And then
Mm.
also to speak on a spiritual space, like, as a Buddhist, I have been introduced, thankfully, to an understanding of if you want to change your environment, you first need to change yourself.
Right, right.
And so
Mm.
to
Mhm.
understand what that whole
Mhm.
concept is, and that's just one of the phrases, but in essence, what we end up doing every day, every morning, and every night is we chant to our scroll, this thing that we chant to. But in essence, it's a spiritual mirror
Right.
that reflects to us without lies, without filters, what our real life condition is going on, what our desires are, if we truly
Mhm.
want that, or is it just
Mhm.
something that society says I should want? All of these different things so that we see
Mm.
ourselves clearly and we see our environment and others clearly.
Yeah.
To understand that this is a spiritual practice is to understand that there are a lot of people walking around who are unclear.
Yeah.
Mm.
about their own value. They're
Mm.
unclear, and so they're projecting so much of what they understand onto other people and onto the world, and don't understand that the way they see the world or what they see in the world is actually in a reflection of their
Mhm.
internal world.
Yeah.
And so, folks like yourself, queer folks, trans folks, whatever, when I go out in public and all the different things, I don't even have to have a stitch of makeup on. When they see me, they're like, "Oh my God, Angelica Ross.
Mhm.
Oh my God, you are just so beautiful and you are smart. You're so strong and the X, Y, and Z." What I teach those folks and everybody else is that all you are seeing when I walk into the world is a polished mirror.
Right. Right.
You are
Right.
Mm.
seeing your reflection, if you can even see me
Mhm.
and see
Mhm.
that.
Mm.
Yeah.
But those who say they see me and get sick to their stomachs, and they see me and, feel anger, or all of a
Mhm.
sudden this
Mhm.
vitriol starts to come up. What I
Mhm.
realize, "Ooh, I'm polished." I walked into an environment and you that came up out of you.
You. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Mm.
I didn't
yeah.
bring that to the situation. So
Right,
what
right.
I see with
Mm.
Dave Chappelle, what I see with all of these folks is they are struggling with their reflection of blackness that is
Mm.
does not include not that doesn't even include them to be able to be fully liberated, because if they
Right,
were able to,
right.
then as an artist, the whole thing about being an artist is being able to actually give way to the feminine and masculine side of yourself so you can just
Mhm.
express.
Mhm. That's real, and
And they're blocked up. They're blocked
yeah.
up.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that part
Ooh.
too, right? A lot of them need to drink more water. But what I was gonna
Mm.
say is that I wanted to shout out Stephen Brodsky, a psychologist who specializes in OCD, for coining is it homosexual OCD? And it's
Mhm.
this notion too around straight men who are obsessed with LGBTQ people and are and basically the community and all of the different ways that we show up as people. And I wanted to say this before we move on. I think it's really good to hear you say that, because I think oftentimes we are so quick to we internalize a lot of the stuff that we see and a lot of the stuff that happened to us or that we even hear, and to be able to
Mm.
hear someone say again, that's not me, that's the work you need to do over there. I think it takes a
Mhm.
lot of the stress off of us to feel like, why are we constantly being, targeted, right? Like, why are we being targeted? And when you start to
Well,
realize, go ahead.
I have to also say, like, it's not just that, it's also just as we've experienced white lash,
Mhm. Mhm.
what we are experiencing is a sort of cis lash
Mhm.
where
Mm.
where black men since the civil rights movement have failed to lead,
Right.
meaning they, if you ask them, they are the ones who have been God ordained to be leaders of the
Mm.
Black
Mhm.
family unit and the Black community. But we still have not crossed that line of
Still where
liberation.
we are. Yep.
Mm. Mhm.
So many black men
Good
see
to hear.
liberation as capitalistic success, as financial success, and not
Mm.
actual freedom for women to actually
Right.
have freedom outside of their
Mm.
control, to not have queer people have freedom outside of their control.
Mhm.
So what you are also seeing here is that our true liberation is coming from queer and trans people, queer, black,
T.
and trans people. We're the
T.
ones who are
Mm.
at every Black Lives Matter rally, as well as
Mhm.
us standing up for all, and even when it comes to, you know, all of the intersections of social justice, you're realizing that whether it was Bayard Rustin,
Mhm.
whether it was, there's so many of Marsha P. Johnson, like there's so
James
many of us who
Baldwin.
have
Yeah.
Mm.
James Baldwin, Audre Lorde.
Mhm.
There's so many of us who are queer politics have been what has been the key to set us free. And I
Yep.
think what is really eating the girls up, it's
Mm.
eating them up that their keys are not working.
Mhm.
The keys that were handed
Mm.
down to them, but I don't know if they haven't heard, those are the master's keys.
Right. Right.
I was saying, like,
Mhm.
they're trying to get into the wrong house in the first
And
Yeah.
place. Like, they even know where they're
Well, and I've
going.
said this, a lot of folks don't want liberation, they want privilege, and that's what it
absolutely.
comes down to. A
Mm.
lot of them just want
Yes.
that privilege. Mhm.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love Angelica, I love so much that you said what you said because I too that's something I think about all the time when folks say, "Oh, I'm this, oh, I'm that." Like, to me, all I think about is I'm actually just about the affection of you. Like, we're all pieces of each other,
Mhm.
and I mean, like, if we're all gonna see ourselves in the image of the divine image, like,
Absolutely. We have to
we're all
see
pieces
ourselves in each other,
of
yes.
this God, and we are all we're all godly ourselves and parts of God, God themselves. So I really appreciate you saying that, and it's made me think so much about like my mind is just racing with so many different thoughts. I'm gonna shift a little bit of the question I had planned because I know we have a lot of accomplices who listen to the show as well
Mhm.
too. And I'm curious of maybe tools you might be able to offer them to begin unpacking that. Because I think the point about, especially when you said about like interrogating one's own blackness as well too, or like finding a discomfort with it. Because I think you hit the nail on the head of the to me, I feel like the divine the divine feminine is something that will like lead us to freedom in ways that people don't expect because it is the most attuned to like what the spiritual connection is. Like I think as
Mhm.
queer and trans people, and I've said this before, the show as queer and trans people, we're the most innately attuned to like the higher being and presence, and that's what's going to lead us to to something different, something better. So how can folks and accomplices who listen to the show, how can they begin like unpacking how I won't say their biases more than just their bias, like right, like bias is taught, but it's more of like, and I think what they're expecting is taught to them, but also like how do they unpack themselves to like deconstruct their own discomfort
Mhm.
with who they are and what they see queerness, what they see divine feminine, where they can unpack their masculinity, where they can unpack their ties to capitalism. Like, what are the tools there that people can use to hone themselves to be more expansive in themselves?
Hmm.
Mm.
I think that, I think one thing when we talk about accomplices and we talk about folks who want to be better and do better, um, what I think needs to be pointed out is that in our Buddhist practice, we focus on winning moment by moment.
Mhm.
And
Mm,
in order to do that, it takes an awareness
Mhm.
moment to moment. So we
mm,
have to let go of these ideas that a label of an ally or that you are accomplice is a one and done thing and you don't ever
Mhm.
have to you do
Mhm.
anything more. Um
mm,
because again, the magic word is accountability.
Yeah.
Um
mhm,
and I think I've been pretty much prophesizing this coin for a minute now, with accountability being the admission price for community. And
Mhm.
so you
mm,
have to be
mhm,
willing to offer that accountability moment by moment. And if you prioritize your own feelings of feeling like one of the good ones and
Mm.
needing us to pat you on the back, then you are already in this for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
mm,
And
mhm,
so what I think is you have to be willing to constantly be willing to be called into question.
Mhm.
And what I feel like has been a misstep of not just our accomplices, but our leaders is that,
mhm,
especially our democratic leaders, is
Yeah.
that they are not leading in good faith
Mhm.
of offering the people a open lane of questioning.
Mhm.
mm,
I wanna constantly be held accountable to what I say I am and what I
Yeah.
say I'm going to do. So if you are really
mm,
about that life, then you will be endlessly open
Mhm.
to accountability, to question,
Right.
and to critique, because I was just talking to Marianne Williamson, and she's an interview that is gonna come out on my podcast, and it was a great interview. I love Marianne Williamson for all the beautiful things that she's contributed, but I also, had to challenge her, in various ways, a part of the conversation, but at least in this one, because she's like, "Oh, I've never been ableist," and I'm like, listen, like, I hear you, but you gotta
mm,
let go of that need to wanna have laid claim to that, because
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
the reality
like a
is
boundary
you
thing.
can't really know that for sure. I mean,
Right.
and don't get
Mm,
me wrong, like, Marianne Williamson, I know that she's fairly aware of so many abilities, you know what I mean? And so I would see that she might be better than most,
Mhm.
but it was even a conversation I had with T.S. Madison once when there was like this whole kerfuffle in the internet about when not Kendrick, when Samson McCormick, uh,
Yeah.
was being, transphobic or whatever, and then
Mhm.
was like pointing to T.S. Madison. Is like, see, this my friend. She's saying the same thing. Blah blah blah. And and I had a conversation with T.S. Madison and other folks to understand. I, Angelica Ross,
Mhm.
have have been transphobic.
Right.
I trans people, period.
Mhm.
We go
mm,
through this space of transition, and as soon as we get to the mirror after we wake up, damn, my voice, my shoulders, my neck, my this, my arms, my veins, my I, I,
Mhm.
all these judgments about being trans, even the internal things when we talk about Bob the Builder as like a funny thing internally, but we don't realize we're being transphobic
Mhm.
internally.
Yeah.
So it's
mm,
this thing of
mm,
letting go of the judgment, because and understanding that the world is constantly judging black, queer, and trans folks, so you can stand to be judged for a moment, in just a sense of to at least get through the moment of realizing you're actually not being judged, you're
Right.
actually being called
Held
into
accountable.
accountability and getting an opportunity to
mm,
do better.
Mhm. And I think
mm,
to your point, Angelica, I think that that's one of the things that I wish. So, for instance, right, I don't want to keep mentioning Dave's name, but I really wish that folks like Dave or folks in the media who have been transphobic would own up and say, "Oh, you know what? I did fuck up. I did say this really fucked up transphobic," or like. And I think it's so easy to do. I think it's so easy to take accountability, and I think that that's a part of when we have these conversations where we're kind of shining a light on the injustices or the issues that are out there. That's initially what we're saying is that you again, kind of going back to my point about saying folks want privilege. Folks are so kind of caught up and so dead set on keeping this idea of I'm above that or I'm better than
Mhm.
that, instead of actually saying, you know what, no, I'm imperfect just like everybody else, and I may fuck up or I may
Mhm.
say or
mm,
do something that's going to harm someone.
Mhm.
And it's
mm,
frustration because I mean, I think what makes me so frustrated in a lot of this is what folks don't really see. And like you said, to the idea of being an accomplice who won't own up to the things that they are doing that could be harmful, we are setting a precipice for other people to go out and do the same thing and find or make room for
mm,
justification right
And not
around that.
and we talk about
mhm,
an accomplice. Let's be real.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's be real. An
Yeah.
accomplice got dirt on their hands.
Right. Right.
An
mhm,
accomplice,
mhm, mhm,
got into gets mixy. So
Mhm.
what
mhm,
a lot of accomplices that I think that, consider themselves accomplices are really just accomplices to Dave Chappelle and his movement and his
Right.
rhetoric,
Right.
because they're
mm,
not disrupting. They're
Mhm.
laughing along in the audience. They're sharing
Mhm.
the clips. They're doing something. So I know a spectrum of people who make concessions for Dave Chappelle, make excuses for Dave
Mhm.
Chappelle. And
Mhm.
here's the situation. Let me just be clear. Let me be clear to you about something. We do not need LGBTQ people, queer people, even black people when it comes to whiteness and all this other stuff. It is not our job.
Mhm.
We don't even have to waste our time holding anyone accountable to
Yep.
their, homophobia, transphobia. The only people we need to do that with are the people who have keys in the system to our
Mhm.
liberation. Those are the
Amen.
folks we need to deal with.
Mhm.
Everybody else we can bypass, because what I know is this is Dave Chappelle's personal beliefs about trans people and blah blah blah. It's not stopping my life. It's not stopping things. But what I know is that I am a disruptor, and those who
Mhm.
are going to be
mhm.
accomplices with me when they see transphobia, when they're in the
Love
environment, they're
disruptors.
going to disrupt that. And if they don't disrupt it,
Mhm,
just understand this:
Mhm.
I don't need to condemn you,
Right.
but I don't trust you.
Amen.
Mm.
Amen.
Mhm.
So that's all that is. Listen, cancel culture. This no, 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 no. Listen, do whatever y'all want to do. Say whatever you want to say. I'm going to speak truth to power. Some of
Right.
y'all don't got the power. You don't got enough power to do nothing in
Mm.
my life. I'm going
Right.
to the people with power. You can say whatever you want to because yeah, I mean like
I
yeah,
get it.
you
I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
no, I feel it, and I was
Yeah.
gonna say
Mm.
that's kind of the next part of the question I was gonna ask, or kind of to continue to move forward this conversation. I think for me, I've always said I think it is so interesting that so many people have so much to say on Black, specifically Black queer people, and no one has ever had any relationships with Black queer people. Right? You've never had me at your house. You've never sat
Mhm.
down and broke bread with me. You've never like and or you'll say, "Oh, I know trans people," and you've only met one or two people, right? Like you don't have anyone in your inner circle or in your inner workings that are close enough to you
Mm.
to pull you in and say, "Yo, you're fucking up out there," right? Like what you've
Yeah.
said or what you're doing out there. And so I think for me, I think one of the bigger frustrations, I guess the question I would ask you is like, how do you, and especially in this industry, and I say this
Mhm.
industry
Mhm.
openly because it's like it's not just podcasting, it's not just acting, it's like the
Mhm.
industry is the industry, right? How do you deal with the obtuseness that comes from people, right, around our identities and our experiences, and the idea of folks being basically parroting what white people do? Oh, I have a Black friend, so I can't be racist, right? I know queer and trans people. I can't be transphobic. And it's like, how do you deal with
Mm.
that obtuseness that comes? Like, what advice would you give for folks who may be kind of exhausting or
Mhm.
exhausted by that?
What I can say is this, I have evolved. I have transitioned uh from a place of being bothered
Mm-hmm.
to a place of being completely unbothered. And I
Mm,
mean
Mm.
completely unbothered. And the reason why I say that is because I really wish, but it's not my mission, it's not my ministry, but I really wish that people could read between the lines. I
mm-hmm.
wish that they could see through smoke screens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you know, to each his own. So what I know is that everybody has to build their own barometer of
Mm-hmm.
of trust, barometer of intuition, and a barometer of bullshit, basically.
Yeah.
Uh, And so for me, I know real allies, I know real accomplices, I know what they look like. They don't even have to actually tell me about it or speak because they are so
Mm-hmm.
mixy. They are in it. Like they're so in it. I don't even they it's like it's like they're a photo bomb, meaning like they're always in it. Like
Mm.
I don't even have to question. Other folks basically come around when it's trendy.
Yeah.
They speak up when it's trendy. And they are there for photo ops,
Mm-hmm.
Laverne Cox, T.S. Madison, folks like that, that I love, also have become photo ops or symbols of, see, I'm not transphobic,
Right.
because, and you, as I said, with Samson McCormick or other folks, Jason Lee, they're all kind of problematic people who point to other folks as like, see, I'm good. But so all I'm saying is those type of folks cannot be trusted.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Like,
Mm.
don't it's almost like what we learned coming up as black people, what we learned coming up. Like our
Mm-hmm.
mamas, our families told us, now you're the fool if you
Now you
ever got
mm-hmm.
Mm.
got bamboozled to think that a white person wasn't going to come up and be white on any
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
on any
Mhm.
given day. So you got to expect that kind of stuff. So to expect cis people to be transphobic, homophobic, to do all this because we
Mm-hmm.
ourselves were also groomed that way and use that own stuff against us. So if we
Mm-hmm.
are only just
Mm.
unlearning it and unpacking it, they are still doing it too. And so most of them cannot be trusted, period.
Well, I mean, yes, like, yes, I'm also big on this idea of, so this is what I was gonna say this earlier, but I'm glad that we waited, and then we'll go into, your last question, Joho. But I was gonna say, one of the things that has really been real for me is when I see people posting things, or when I see people who see this stuff come across our timelines and they don't say anything about it. That, to your point, right? You're telling me, and I love that you say this, you are telling me that you cannot be trusted. And I love
Yes.
that, because I think we need to start talking more about that, instead of being focused on what they are saying and how
Mhm.
we live in their head rent free. We need to
Mhm.
start looking at the people that we love and that we know and saying, you're not saying anything
Mhm.
about what they're saying and
Mhm.
what they're doing. That tells me that I
Mm.
can't trust you, because that means that
Well
you're complicit, you know?
well, let's build a little grace into it. And
See?
so this is what I'll say. Because I know right now I'm experiencing various things because and I might be experiencing a certain oppression, right? From the industry because the industry is
Mhm.
like, who the hell do you think you are
Right.
to speak
Mm.
up and buck out to the system or what have you? But then the reality is that people who are don't have, let's say, the most power in the system are still playing their part in the system by
Right.
continuing to help erase me from the picture in the sense of we see there's an algorithm, we
Mm.
see there's all these things that are going on, and yet I'm here always speaking truth to power and doing those things. So it's going to be up to us. Just like when Ava DuVernay did her movie with Origin, knowing
Mhm.
that she had to do it outside of a system that wasn't going to support that message because that was a little bit too much heat for the white people and yet here we are. We as black folks have to come in like drones. And I'm not saying in ways of always supporting stuff when it's bad, because that's another conversation. But I don't support mediocre black art sold to us as excellence. That I don't
Mhm.
do. But when it
Mm.
comes to our black stars and everything, what I want to build grace in and say is that I see you. And
Mhm.
I see that you see that
Mhm.
there is not enough of a constituency. There is not enough of a group built together for
Mhm.
you to risk your black privilege in Hollywood that is very in a world that's ruled by white supremacy. The secret that folks don't understand is even the people who you think got it and are so successful, white supremacy can take it away anytime
Mm-mm.
they
So
want
quick.
to,
Mhm.
So
and
quick.
folks
Mhm.
know that, even Beyonce.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
play in even Beyonce's face. So to
Mhm.
understand this is to give some grace for the fact that our brothers and sisters
Mhm.
didn't create the system.
Right. Right.
And so it might be difficult, just like Issa Rae talked about in her a recent interview. She talked about like, yeah, I could hold you accountable or do these things, but at what cost, or what have you. But the thing is understanding that if you see this as not just you paying the cost, and if we were able to create a better front, but the
Mhm.
reality is we don't have that front because Hollywood is a system of pygmies. And let me just pause for a second because I know that was a shot fired and I know that folks might have caught astray. But what I mean by that is
Yes.
that it's casting. And
Mhm.
so you can be in an industry that is a pick me industry without being a pick me. And
Well.
so the reality is that there are black people who are still getting into positions and turning their cheeks and turning their
Mm.
eyes and closing their eyes and not saying things, not speaking up in order to maintain position or in order to continue to get picked.
Amen.
So understand that I'm recognizing both things and that what I'm telling you is that I could have made a choice too.
Mhm.
I could have made a choice. I
Yeah.
made a very conscious choice. So understand that I know that I made a choice. I know the consequences that come along with
Mm,
my choice, and I am going to deal with those consequences. But those who
mm,
understand what the system is, then I invite you to support my journey into strengthening my own platform and my own
Mhm.
spotlight outside of Hollywood. It's not necessary, but I welcome the folks to do so. But just know that I recognize that you are making a choice, and just
Mhm.
know that every choice has its consequences. Every
Amen.
choice has its effects. Yeah.
mm.
Mhm.
Whew. Mm, mm.
It's less judgment. Do you
Oh,
know what I mean? It's less
No, I get
judgment.
it. I get
yeah.
it.
And
No, it's like it's such a grown like, it's such like
Buddhist.
a grown way of seeing
Yes.
it, like, truly, like, right, okay, come on,
Yeah.
yes, like, because it really is just it really is just framing it
Right.
as, I I see you where you were at, and I don't have to be there with you, and I don't wanna be there with you, but I see you where you're at, and, like,
Mhm.
like,
And
Mhm.
go off and work, and
also know that you can't be trusted in the movement.
Mhm.
Because
mhm,
you are
mhm,
identifying yourself as someone who will choose their own comfort and position over liberation of all of us.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I think, like, in hearing that, right, like, I think people, like, might hear that and be like, "You like, you can't trust me?" Like, am I and, like, you have to reckon with that yourself then, because, that's not on me to help you get there with. You have to, like, me saying I don't trust you is not saying I don't like you, just says, "I
Exactly.
don't trust you. I can like and love you, but
Exactly.
I just can't trust you right now." And, like,
Baby, let me tell you
that's
something.
also
I have
okay.
so many I have so many relationships, Hollywood relationships, that when I tell you I finally got to a place of enlightenment with, because I thought I was building
Mm,
camaraderie with black celebs who understood what it meant to
Mhm.
be coming from the margins
mm,
into the mainstream. But when I realized what's a lot of that was, then I was like, okay, I can still love and enjoy the art and the things that you do. I do not trust you though.
Amen.
mhm.
Amen. Just, in the
Yeah.
words of Dominique
Whew.
Morgan, "You can eat, but you can just go ahead and go eat over there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't mind you eating,
Yes!
but you just
I
not
love
gonna eat at
I
my
love that you remember
table."
that. That's
That's what
Absolutely.
that is.
I won't make you a plate,
You're
but you
right,
can
you
eat
can take
though.
it to
You
go.
we over there in the other
You can take
house.
it
Mhm,
You
mhm.
get to go, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so for the last question, I wanna get into a little bit into authentic storytelling. So these last few years, we have seen a rise in diverse stories being told, but they aren't always true to life. At least in like Micro Teeth, they would always be true to life. We see shows and episodes, particularly about trans folks, but mainly experiences of harm and hurt are the ones that we watch or have to consume, and not always the experiences of joy or their joy wrapped up and bound into some trauma part of it
Mhm.
too. How in your thoughts and perspective, how do we change this? How do we make space for our stories to just feel normal and not inherently sad or even like inherently exceptional?
Okay. Word of the day is divest.
Mm.
So,
Oh,
and the word of well, let's say this. The concept of the day is divest and reinvest.
Mhm.
And so I
mm,
think that we have to divest from white systems basically,
Mm.
and really
mm,
divest from uh systems that are also, I would say, spin-offs of white supremacy.
Mhm.
Some of those systems I would consider to be like the NAACP and things like that. And the reason why I say that is because, yeah, yeah, shot
My eyes
fired.
got big. I said,
Um,
"Woo."
shot fired.
I'm
But
still
like,
working on how to I'm still working on my facial expressions. So
awesome.
for the
Brum, ba, ba,
folks
bum.
who are
Just shut a
watching
man down. No.
folks who are watching on YouTube, my eyes got big because I said, "Oh, she
You
named him." I said, "Oh,
well,
she named him." But all right, go off. That's what
what
we're
I
here
love is
for.
that, yes, what I love is that Kendrick Sampson kind of like recently did like a thread kind of like
Yeah.
explaining a sort of the
Mm,
history of the NAACP and their sort of position so
Mhm.
closely. adjacent to being a part of the establishment and not
Yeah.
really rooted in our true liberation.
Mm,
So it's no wonder why they weren't celebrating queerness when Moonlight came out. They
Right.
couldn't even. I would remember when watching
mm,
it on TV, and I was upset at the monologues that were just given by the host because I was like, y'all can't even give Moonlight his flowers from the chest on the stage, and it's and
Right.
other
Mhm.
awards have already given them their flowers. So in order to do this, queer people too, listen to me
Mm.
closely.
Mhm.
It ain't just Chick-fil-A.
Mhm.
Sometimes, sometimes it's the City Girls.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's Nicki Minaj.
Mhm.
Listen, 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 listen. I know,
Mhm.
I know, I know. Listen, y'all
Yes.
can come at me all you want to.
No.
What what I'm saying to
No,
you is
please don't.
this: we have invested in so many folks who have been the worst allies. And,
Mhm.
and some who have
mhm,
been doing okay and blah 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 who have grown or whatever. But what I'm saying is when people show themselves to be problematic
Mhm.
and they're not truly invested in the full picture of liberation, not just for queer people, but for women also,
Yeah.
like
mm,
as queer people, we stand at the center for all the things. So we can't stand for internalized misogyny
Mhm.
and patriarchy and all these
mhm,
different things or whatever. And so when we are in a world where technology has flattened the world, where I can listen to a Palestinian artist or a queer artist, or I can listen to Seven Deep, a queer rapper, or I can listen to, there's so many choices
Mhm.
other than homophobic ones. So I don't have to listen to the baby.
Mhm.
I don't have to listen to Boosie. I don't have to listen to these
mhm,
things. So
Mhm.
I think it
mhm.
is up to us to divest our dollars from it's just like with that system, I think it's called BDS, or it's like a website or something where you can kind of
Yes, the
yes,
BDS movement, boycott, divestment, sanction
yes,
movement.
where we kinda
Mhm.
learn who to divest from and boycott, because they're not standing in the right space.
Mm.
We as queer and trans people have power, and we can use that power by removing our power from those who are not, who
Mhm.
we've granted power to in ways who have taken it for granted, who
Yeah.
give us crumbs,
Mhm,
and we say, "Thank you for the crumbs."
Mm.
There's
mm,
more
mm.
situations I can go into, but I'm not really trying to get dragged like that. So
No.
what I'm trying to say is that we say thank you for the smallest crumbs, and what we need to do is
Mm.
cancel
Mm,
the Zeus subscription. I don't have one, never had one. But
Never. Never.
what I'm saying is HD10, I think Corey Knott, is someone who, is an independent filmmaker. Um, myself, Ian Patrick, Cheryl Dunye, Ava DuVernay, like, there's lots of queer, and we know these folks are queer, whether they're shouting it to the hilltops or different things or whatever, but the way that they tell these stories, that's
Mhm.
I want us to be able to embrace what it means to be queer,
Mhm.
because I really was not there. I'm like, "Queer? Who the hell is you calling queer?" You know? But
Mhm.
once I really got to that and understanding how it is such a revolution to be queer and to see things from a queer lens
mm,
that is not even just
mhm,
about sexuality or sexual orientation. You know what I mean? So it's about expression. So I think that in order for us to change this, we have got to be the investors in our own liberation. And when we see those are taking our power and our community for
Mhm.
granted,
Mhm.
we need to hold them accountable to that. And what I mean by hold them accountable is it's not about canceling. It's like saying, hold up, wait, we need to just check this real quick. You said you would never want your kids to be gay. Can we check this real quick? Cause either you are in with us or you're not. So no
Mhm.
tea, no shade, but I just want to check this one thing and hold it accountable so we can just know if you on with us or not.
Mhm. Mm. I mean, and that's that on that. I mean, that is really that is the gist of what we were getting at. I think the reality is all of us, and I think this is what I'm taking away from this particular conversation. All of us have a responsibility to do something, like all of
Mhm.
us. And it doesn't matter it doesn't matter how you identify, it doesn't matter where you are, whatever. We
mm,
all have to do something in order to make sure
mhm,
that we're protecting everyone, right? Like
And
there is.
me
Yeah, go
say,
ahead.
you're right. We all have the responsibility, right, to take the responsibility. So what I say is, responsibility is the ability to respond. So
Mhm,
everyone has to develop, and
Mm,
to remove this out of an
mm,
ableist space. It's not just
mm.
about a verbal response.
right.
How are you responding to what's going on? Is your body in the streets?
Mhm,
Is your voice out there? Is it whatever it is, but you can figure out. Actually, it's a calling right now,
mhm, mhm,
because
Mhm.
history books will tell it. They'll tell it, and
mhm.
they'll tell, were you one of the people who had a response to this time, or did you stick your head in the sand?
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, I know that we need to take a break, and this has been an amazing conversation. We just gonna ask, can you go stick around with us just a little bit longer so we ask a few more questions?
I got a little bit longer. I got a little bit
Okay,
longer for
okay.
you.
All
Yeah.
right, baby. Well, with that being said, thank you, Angelica. We gonna take a quick break, but when we get back, we're gonna get back to some how you healing. More in a sec.
All right, so we want to take some time to chat a little bit more with our girl Angelica because we all know the past few weeks we have seen so many terrible things happen politically.
Hmm.
Well, we don't want to spend this whole segment talking about what's happening in politics because we would be here for weeks and weeks on
Hmm.
end with it. We are sure that you are exhausted since announcing you want to be more involved in politics,
Hmm.
and so we want to ask how does one engage in politics while actually taking care of themselves? We know this is something that we are seeing with other names like Jarrett Hill and Keith Boykin, but how do you engage without stepping on your own needs for self-care and mental health?
That's a great question. Right now, to be honest, launching this podcast, No Opportunity Wasted, has been quite a serendipitous blessing, in the sense that,
Hmm.
in Buddhism, we believe that getting to that place of sort of happy, believing that everybody can be happy,
Hmm.
and kind of addressing the issues that there's a lot of discord. And
Mm,
we believe that a lot of that can be addressed through talking to each other, through dialogue, through having profound dialogue with one
mm,
another and actually listening. And so not only am
Hmm.
I having dialogue with, the people who are rolling up their sleeves and doing the best that they can with a very challenging environment, but I'm also talking to folks like Kim Jackson, who is a senator here in Georgia, or you know, um, various politicians who are looking to get into the race, but also educating myself about the lay of the land here in Georgia.
mm,
I
Hmm.
believe I have a very good idea of what's going on and what's happening, and I will say this. Um the personal is political.
Hmm.
So let's start
mhm,
there. So there's a
mhm,
lot of people who talk about the fact that they're not into politics, or they don't talk do politics or whatever. That's all just BS anyway, because it is what it
mhm,
is, but it's just like, okay, but sure, but your personal is political, so everything personal about you is politicized, basically.
Hmm. Hmm.
And to know that is to know that so many of our leaders and political figures get caught up because
Hmm.
they can't be the same person in every room.
Right.
They
Oh,
can't say the same things in every room. And they
amen.
can't, and they're not, and listen, here go another shot fire. I'm sorry. I don't mean to, because I this is all for whatever. This is all for the greater good.
Mhm.
okay,
But
yeah,
seeing folks like my brother, Andrew Gillum, now on his podcast, it's wonderful to see him in this space. But to see someone again go into a space of being a representative, but having something that someone can hold over your head because you're not being open and honest. Maybe you are with your wife and with, whoever else or whatever, but you're not being open and honest with the people about it.
People.
And
Yes.
the, and let's be
mhm,
clear, you want to represent the people, but you're not representing yourself. When bisexuality and LGBTQ issues are on the ballots, especially in Florida,
Mhm.
so like it's just
Mhm.
it's such an, I think, an egotistical thing and an egregious thing
mm,
for folks to step into spaces of representation without being
Yes.
able to fully represent themselves.
Mm.
So what I'm doing here
Mm,
is making sure that the voters, especially here in Georgia, know who they what I want you to know who you're gonna be
mm.
voting for and
Wha
what you're gonna be getting into, because I'm going to tell you that yes, I inhaled several times. And what I'm gonna tell you is that
Mm,
I am someone who has experienced gained privilege, but
Mhm.
I'm not sold on some fallacy of 40 acres and a mule just because land is cheaper or more accessible here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
When we have the marijuana laws being what they are, if you're not a black person with certain privilege to be behind a gated community and not be policed as much, then
mm.
you're not as free as Rick Ross or any of us that got these houses, you know what I'm saying, like here.
Right, right.
So what I want to tell, I'm going to tell y'all up front. Yep, I sometimes smoke weed. Now let me just tell you this. I don't smoke weed as much as I used to. And
Right.
that's only because I have certain things that I'm doing, whether it's a singing career, whether it's certain things I'm doing where that's just not as conductive for what I'm doing. But
Mhm, mhm.
for mental health reasons, still, if I have general anxiety disorder. I have a few things, and if I decide for myself to medicate myself, that's not a criminal thing. That's a health issue. And
Amen.
so I want to
Mm,
get us to, as if I'm going to get into politics again, it's not going to be
mhm.
like everybody else. It ain't going to be your daddy's politics. It ain't going to be
Right.
your mama's politics. It's going to be a new wave and a new breed of things that, in essence, in my body, I'm going to be independent. Yes, I'm
Mhm.
going to have to probably ride along with the Democrats, but I'm gonna be shaking the table the whole time up in there, because the Democrats
Mm,
to me are more conservative, are really conservatives in disguise, are Republicans in disguise, a lot of them. And a lot of times there's a lot of black people, again, whether it's the NAACP, whether it's Hollywood,
Mhm.
whether it's corporate America, or whether it's politics. You got black people who have risen to a certain status, and now they are the establishment.
Mhm.
They are an arm of the establishment. And so
mhm,
everything that I'm talking about, a lot of what I'm talking about is shaking their table too, not just the table of white supremacy. It's
mhm.
shaking their table too, and they're not going to be happy about that. So what
Yeah.
I know is that I need the people to not only see me, but to trust me. Trust
Amen.
that I'm not going to tell you one thing and do another
Mm,
once I get into office.
mm.
Mhm.
Ooh, ooh. You were speaking truth to power so much with us. Thank you is yeah, like yes. If you watching YouTube, you're seeing our faces like, but like I'm not gonna stop you because like you aren't saying
Right.
lies, you saying truth. So
Somebody's
really,
gotta say it and do it.
woo,
Somebody.
and I
The fact that I am
mhm.
fighting for my bodily autonomy as a
Yeah.
trans woman,
Mhm.
and fighting for your bodily autonomy too,
Mhm.
no matter how you identify, especially as cis women who are under these anti-abortion laws and regulations. I'm
Yeah.
fighting for both of us. And so what we have to realize is that as this black trans person, I'm fighting for all of us, but we have to realize we got black folks in there that aren't.
Yeah.
That
That's
Mm,
just aren't. They're not fighting. They're fighting more for police than for the people who are being policed, than our
mhm.
communities that are being policed. We don't need Cop City. We need a different response to our communities. We need
Yeah.
people who can be first responders to mental health crises,
Mhm.
to drug issues, to domestic issues, to whatever. But like, we don't need more police tactics that are mixed in with IDF sort of sponsored tools.
Mhm. Mhm.
mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
That's real.
Whew, oof, okay. Y'all, we gotta take one more break to fight off our protesters now outside these doors.
Lord.
But we will fight them off.
Mhm.
We're gonna take a break and we come back in just a moment with your first segment, y'all. Yes, ma'am, and no man Pam's back in just a sec.
All right. So we are going to go ahead and jump into our yes ma'ams and our no man pams for the week. And I wanted to start off with quickly saying, so I don't have a specific yes ma'am this week, but my yes ma'am is kind of a collective and an open one for everybody. I wanted to shout out anyone and everyone who was giving something up in order to keep something. And what I mean by that is, I know a lot of
Yes.
us are giving up um we've had to give up relationships, we've had to give up jobs, we've had to give up opportunities that we thought were going to benefit us, right? In order for us to keep ourselves. And I say that because partly for me, I was going to say, this thought came for me when I was thinking to myself, why I couldn't have a donut? I said, my God, I had to give up donuts so I can live. And that's a very,
My condolences.
yes, I know. I'm just saying, like, it's such a big thought that came from something so petty and so silly. But I was gonna say, like, I think about, it got me to thinking, like, even thinking of your story, right? Angelica, like,
Mhm, mhm.
in order for you to be able to kind of keep yourself, right, and be able to ground yourself, and I even think about me sometimes, right? Sometimes I'll tweet out stuff and I'll know before I tweet it out. I'm like, oh, this is probably going to end up fucking me over eventually, right? But it needs to be
Mm.
said. I'm gonna say it anyway.
Mhm,
I think about
mhm.
that a lot. There are so many of us who are giving up opportunities in things because they're going, I don't want to lose me. I don't want to lose my family. I don't want to lose all of this stuff that I've worked so hard to attain in order to be able to, get to X. So I just wanted to quickly say that. However y'all take that is how y'all take it, but I really love it. On the other side of that, I wanted to say my no man Pam are people who like to pocket watch. And what I mean by that
Baby.
is, my money ain't your money. Your money ain't my money. So why are we talking about money? Like why are you worried about what anyone does with their money? And I think about this a lot because I say, like, I don't and I know I've said this in so many different iterations, not only on the mic but also on social. I have said we never watch white cis men the way that we watch everybody else with what they're spending and what they're doing with their monies.
Mm.
My thing is as long as I'm not asking you to borrow money, why are you worried about what I spend my money on? My
Mhm.
bills are paid. And I've said this and I'm gonna say it very loudly again on the mic. What I have, everything I have, I can afford. I just want to make
Hello.
sure that everybody knows that. I don't, nothing you see is bought on credit. Okay. I have multiple credit cards. I have a very good credit score, but nothing
Mhm.
you see me purchase is something I cannot afford. I just want you all to, I want to be very clear on that. So don't, it's not even about me. I just see, that's why I brought it up. I see so many people pocket watching people, oh, Louis
Mm.
Well, yeah, I
Vuitton.
mean, we're in a space where, it's what do you call it? It's like crabs in a barrel. It's the scarcity model,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
like again, it's the judgment and wanting to, it's just a lot of reflection and projection.
Mhm, mhm, and
Mhm.
so I
Mhm.
just I felt the
Mhm.
need to just say that very loudly. Everything you see that I have, I can't afford, and as long as
Amen.
I'm not hitting up you to put money in my Venmo,
Amen.
worry about yours,
No gun
baby.
for no GoFundMe here. Right.
Yes,
Yes.
there's no GoFundMe here, baby, and it's not to say that
Yes.
I'm shaming anybody who needs a GoFundMe.
Not
That's
at
not
all, not at all,
not at
but
all. I'm
what
just
you're
Mhm.
saying,
saying is that you not sitting out here spending and then the next day up with a GoFundMe, right,
hello,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
I know my accountant
Mm.
keeps me accountable. I want to
Come on,
say
man.
that. My accountant keeps me accountable.
Your ability to account, okay, is accounting. Yes.
Yes. Now, Miss Ross, what are your yes
Yes.
ma'ams and your no ma'am Pams for this week?
Well, I'll say my yes ma'am Pam is to speaking out. Shout out to Cat Williams, Monique, all the folks who are speaking up. Listen, they
Mm-hmm.
may not be perfect characters, but what I know is that as Black people, we have been groomed in a culture of silence.
Yep.
And it's
Amen.
and it's just not helping us. And what I think that folks need to be willing to do is that we have to understand that uh we've been living under the assumption that everything has to be so punitive. When we talk about, law enforcement, all these different things or whatever, everything doesn't have to be so punitive.
Yeah.
So we can live in our truth and own our truth even when it's bad, even when it's wrong. And I see, folks like Monique, who probably very boldly, loudly talk about, being a bad mother, being, having friendly pussy, why you might have
Yeah.
to beep that out,
You don't have to
but
beat
like
that.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but
We don't have
it's I think it's a rare space for people
Mm-hmm.
to be in, and I know that this is what I have run into with dating and the various things is because I live so much in truth, even when it's bad.
Mhm.
People are so used to when something bad happens, wanting to be in a power position to now
Mm.
condemn, judge, and drag someone. But if
Mhm.
someone is sitting there prostrating themselves and saying, "This is what I've done, and I'm working on myself, and this is just one of my this is what something I'm working on, not just the way I am, but this is I fucked up, or this is what I did bad, and blah blah blah." It's hard to drag somebody who's coming to the table and being conscious about what they're doing. So I
Right.
think we need to, in order to even try to remove out of that what people are afraid of, cancel culture or being dragged or whatever, you don't got to be worried about that if you're willing to call yourself into
Mhm.
question and to
Mhm.
be honest about your strengths and weaknesses and your shortcomings. Like, it's
Mhm.
okay. We all fall short. So I love seeing more moments of people speaking up and being authentic and transparent about what they are going through.
Mhm.
Um, where I would say, no, ma'am, Pam, is, it's election season right now. And my no, ma'am, Pam is two-sided. For those who are saying they're not going to vote at all, no, ma'am, Pam.
Yeah.
Uh, no, ma'am, Pam.
Thank
No, ma'am,
you.
Pam.
Mhm.
Thank you.
But on the other side of that, no, ma'am, Pam, is the folks who are shaming folks who are saying they're not going to vote, who are unsure who they're going to vote for, or who are
I was
having
Thank you.
issue
just
Mhm.
talking to my
giving their
husband about this.
or
Yeah.
or who are having
Mhm.
issue giving their vote to Joe Biden when
Mhm.
Mhm.
Joe Biden's actions, not our Joe Biden's actions
Mhm.
are going against our own moral code
Mhm.
of what
Mhm.
we have. And I
Mhm.
saw on
Mhm.
MSNBC this white man talking about how Trump is going to be terrible for America, and how to warn us about Trump, but in the same breath him saying that he cannot, though, in good conscience vote for Joe Biden, his because it goes against his moral code. And I just thought to myself, how white? Because only somebody who their life might not change one way or another if that happens.
Mhm.
But myself, I wanna stand on business too when it comes to my vote. I wanna
Right.
say, "Hell to hell no, I'm not voting for Joe Biden because of X, Y, and Z." But I know when it gets to the ballot box, and if it's between them 2, then I'm gonna do my civic duty, and Imma use my power to be counted, at least to stop that from happening. But
Right.
I don't have the privilege.
Mhm.
Maybe somebody listening to this, maybe you feel you do, exercise that privilege, fine. But what I'm saying is my no ma'am
Mhm.
is removing yourself from the conversation
The equation
altogether.
altogether. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I just want to put it out there, I understand, and I don't like the lesser of two evils conversation either. But what I will say is that there are a lot of people's rights and livelihoods on the line. If and
Mhm.
when we get past March 5th, there will be a lot of people who will have some decisions to make. And I'm
Mhm.
hoping people make the right
Especially
decisions.
Arab Americans, I feel my
Amen.
heart goes out to Arab Americans
Yeah.
who
Mhm.
see a whole conversation be skewed, to
Mhm.
where something
Mhm.
started off from the beginning calling folks children of darkness and that there were no good people, there are no civilians. So if we're starting from that
Mhm.
place and America
Mhm.
is backing that place, and it is also full of Arab Americans, Muslims, all kind of folks, again, what the situation is, we just because I vote for him doesn't mean that I like Biden, that I whatever, or that I even trust him.
Right, right.
'Cause at this
Mhm.
point, I'm with the Arab Americans, everybody else, he's not to be trusted to me. He's
Yeah.
not to be trusted. But in this election, this broken system that we have currently right now, this is what we gotta do. In the meantime, we gotta talk to the no labels folks, who have been working over 14 years to build a third party. We gotta
Mhm.
go over and start talking to them and
Mm.
be like, "Hey, listen, how can we help? How can
Right.
we, like, really get this going in all the states? Because it's about
Right.
time."
Can we
Right.
Yeah.
It
what
is
do you
about time,
need?
baby.
How do we
And
support?
how do we get you some aid? I was gonna say a lot of y'all don't like y'all boss, but you still show up to work every day. So
Hello? Everybody paying a price, baby.
right. We all got a cost. We all got a cost. What about you, Mama
Mm.
Joho?
Well, first, I mean, I just wanna say I am I'm not excited that I'm not excited that it's election season, but I look forward let's just say because if it's something that I feel like I'm in one of my most impactful moments. Like I always go through like the measures that are on the ballot for California and
Mhm.
for my city,
Mhm.
and like just do my best to do my best to educate folks, because I think to your point, Angelica, when we shame others for not voting without giving them educational tools to understand what they're voting for, like we actually know better, and we're actually doing more
Yeah.
harm.
It's
And
real.
so for me, I look forward to taking the moment and the time to like go through these measures and share my thoughts on them. And I always tell folks, like, don't have me be the person to tell you what to vote for. I'm just telling you what I think about these things. Use this as your jump off point, and you go do your own research. But like, I'd be remiss to not talk to you about how I'm maybe interpreting this, or the way I understand this and how it might affect us
Mhm.
here. And so I look forward to doing that. I think the same. Like I I think so many folks get it. So many folks get twisted, like that if we are gonna be down to this, like to this binary vote of these two folks, that like that voting, like voting for Biden would mean that voting for Biden, that would mean that we support him. I mean, I always see it as like, do you really trust any
Hello?
political leader?
Hello?
Like I like find me a government or political leader that I can trust.
But there
Period.
are
And
some people
like
out here
you
doing the
don't.
most. Like I see some folks out here like giving these glowing talks about Biden and I'm just like, now come on, are we in the same country?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
truly, I'm like, he's just a white man to
He's
me.
done
Like,
good things.
he's just a
He's
white
done
man.
good things,
Like,
but let's be
Yeah.
real.
Yes, for
he has done
real.
good things. He has more good things than than the last
Mhm.
person who is here. And like there is so much more that we can do. And so I just for folks who are thinking about voting, like don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Mhm.
My yes ma'am Pam first is gonna go really to just our guest, Miss Angelica Ross.
Amen.
One because it is important for us to give flowers to people while they are still
Thank
here, and
you.
to lay them at their feet. And I'm really inspired by Ryan Michelle Bath, who gave us flowers on her Instagram live of the day, and it really is a great reminder of to tell people like while you still can, while they're in front of your face, how much you care about them, respect them, and also are inspired by them. Angelica, I I really cannot put into probably like great words how inspired I am by you,
Mhm.
and by the work that you do and who you are, and the way that you have continually stood up to speak out, even at the cost to have like even at the cost, even though whatever cost it is, and for you to say the price I pay is worth it to stand up for who I am and what I
Mm.
believe in,
Mm.
for all of us too. And that is really just so beautiful and so impactful. Your point about trust in this episode has been I'm going to take with me for so much. I've been thinking about that a lot myself, and having you speak it and give it breath and life has just been so special and beautiful. Your body of work, like your body of work in film and television, your body of work in politics, body of work in in the tech space. I was just watching, not tech related, but I was watching the series finale of the show, sort of. And when I saw you on the screen, I like me and my roommate were like, "Wait, hold up, that who
I
you think it
know that
is?"
ain't who I think
And
it
really,
is.
like
Yeah.
I know who the thing is. It was also so special because I think it was also so special because like to see you in that, right, especially as someone who has seen like so many of your other roles be rooted in like pain, to see this role be rooted in so much like love, respect, and support, like was just so beautiful and so powerful. And I was like, there's nothing she can't do, y'all. There's nothing she can't
Yeah.
do. So really, I have to give you your flowers and say, yes, ma'am, Pam, to you, and also like yes, ma'am, Pam, for you taking the time to be with us today. Like
Yeah.
you, like choices, right? You like you can be like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna show up. Like I'm not gonna be here for this. Like you said yes, and it really means a lot that you gave us the time of your time and your energy. 'Cause I know it's important and I know it's valuable.
Thank
So
Mhm.
you.
thank you for giving that to us today. I'm so appreciative for
Yes.
that. My no, ma'am, Pam. It's silly, but just anybody inconveniencing black folks during this month, especially, like, don't inconvenience us, period, anytime. But during this month, I constantly someone cut me in line yesterday at the farmers market, and I truly like with my full chest says, on Black History Month, you gonna cut me, girl? On Black History Month? And I was here first with my
Yeah,
scone. Let me get my
baby.
scone. And
Yeah.
she was so gooped and gagged. And
Mhm.
I was like, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's Black History Month. Do not cut me in line. You saw me right here in line, sis. Like,
Yes.
don't inconvenience me anytime, but
Mhm.
especially on this month, on my month,
Yeah.
in
I was
in my city, at my
I
scone
was
stand,
in
I don't
a
think so,
very
Miss
similar
Thing.
situation, and this person cut me in front of me, and I just screamed, "Well, fuck my drag!" And she turned around and I said, bitch, you just cut me. Like, yes, I have been, I get it. On black, on black. He
Okay,
marched down
and
again
watch your
for
word
this
choices.
week to become a month, and you out here
Yes.
cutting me? Okay, all
Yes.
right, yeah.
And watch your word choices because someone recently to me was like, this had me in shackles. I said, shackles on Black History Month? Shackles? Or someone said, "Hey, Jordan, do you want to a escape room?" I said,
No,
"My ancestors on both sides have escaped a lot. I
no,
refuse to participate in
no,
this dumbass game.
no.
Not Black History Month. No, no,
Mm,
not for me, sis. But thank you. So no,
mm-mm.
ma'am, to all you hoes out here inconveniencing us with your
No,
words
ma'am,
and your life
Pam.
choices. Don't do us that for that.
Absolutely not. This is it's we got what, a week and a half left. Absolutely not. I'm pushing
Okay, don't ruin
everybody
it
out
for
the
us.
way. All right, y'all. Well, with that being said, please send us your thoughts, feedback, and email to blackfatfemmepod@gmail.com. You can also send us your thoughts via social media by interacting with our posts on Instagram and Twitter by using the handle BlackFatFemmePod. Queen Joho, where can the dolls find you? Well, actually, we'll start with Angelica because she's the guest,
Yes,
and then we'll go ahead
Thank
and go to
yes,
you.
Joho.
and
I'm sorry. Angelica, where can the dolls find you, baby?
yes.
Well, you can find me on Instagram and pretty much all the things at Angelica Ross.
Mhm.
But check out the No Opportunity Wasted. You can find
Amen.
us at Now
Yes.
Angelica Podcast on Instagram. But yeah, that's and MissRoss.com. I'm always so blessed that I even own that domain name, but
Mhm.
MissRoss.com.
I know that's right.
Yes,
What about you, Mama Bear?
yes.
Queen Joho, where can the dolls find
Well,
you?
just before I do, Angela, could you also just because you are the founder
Mhm.
of
Yes.
Trans Social, could you also just share a little bit more about it, share why it's significant for folks to support the queer and trans folks or see as assets in the field, and how listeners can support Trans Social as well too,
Amen.
please.
Absolutely. As I said before, we have our Trans Tech Summit coming up in March. It'll be during the week of trans visibility.
Mhm.
And, basically, Trans Tech is an online and an offline community of folks who are
Mm,
co working, who are co learning together to create solutions
mm,
and understand that, we need to support and uplift the most marginalized amongst us. Black, queer and trans folks, immigrants, however many layers, we understand that our resources that we work so hard to build go
Mhm.
towards the most marginalized in our community and helps every other person with one less layer of marginalization.
Mm.
mm, mm.
I love it.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank
Mhm.
you.
thank you so much. My loves, you can find me at Joho Daniels across all socials, or my website, johodaniels.com, or at any big business asking for reparations. What I mean by that, I mean if I go to McDonald's and I actually no, not McDonald's because we don't
Got the
like them. But if
boycott,
I go to Taco
baby.
Bell and okay, but if I go to Taco Bell and I say, hey, give me my bean burrito for free, please, because I'm black. Just reparations. If I'm going to if I'm going to Target and I say, "Give me my candle set because I'm Black reparations," I'm gonna do that as
Mhm,
well. If I
mhm.
if I go to the bank saying, "Run me my coin because reparations I'm Black," that's what I'm doing.
Yes.
Inconveniencing every place I can go to say it's reparations month for me
Yeah.
Mhm.
and all my people. So you gonna give us our shit back? Thank you very much. You will find me there.
Yes. I also want to say shout out to the doll. I went to Taco Bell earlier this week to get me one of them little the little bowls, the little the meat
Oh, the
bowls.
little
Yeah, yes,
yeah.
yes, baby. And there was a whole kerfuffle
Mm.
in the drive-through, and baby gave it to me for free. So thank you. Shout out to the
Yeah,
girls who are
see, look
doing
at
the work, who are
our
saying,
fierce
"This
ally.
ain't my stuff. I ain't got time for this. Take this and get on." I appreciate you. You're doing the Lord's work. As for me, you can find me on my couch after this, minding my business and eating my breakfast while watching the latest installment of Love is Blind because I am a reality junkie too. I have a lot of thoughts about the folks that they've introduced, but I'm gonna save those thoughts for when I actually finish it because yes, there's a lot that I already feel like is happening. But with that being said,
Mm.
you can find me at Dr. John Paul, or you can visit my website www.drjohnpaul.com. We want to thank everyone over at iHeart for continuing to support this show. We want to thank our supervising producer Rebecca Ramos and Bei Wang for handling all of the logistics, and we want to thank our executive super producer Anna Hosnia for all that they do to continue to support us. We also want to shout out our wonderful editor, mix master, and video creator Chris Rogers because without them there would
Yes.
be no show. That's it, baby.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Stay black, fat, femme, and fabulous. And remember, it's not your booty, it's your beauty. I love us for real. Bye.
Bye.